Everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my backyard and welcome back to my series I'm doing on building my new log trailer. If this is your first time here, I'll leave you a link up in the cards and down in the description to a playlist that contains all the videos that go along with this build so you can get caught up to where we are right now. So last time I did all of the last little detail work and I was prepping it for the galvanization treatment, which I was planning on having done. Has it been like 8 weeks now since I shot that video? That has fallen through. And I just want to get this thing done, so we're going to get some paint on this thing, which should be pretty interesting. So I'm going to start off by just getting this thing stripped back down, and I'll work on getting it back onto the stands. I have my mini skid steer now, so getting this thing on and off of rotisserie stands is pretty trivial, so it's not a big deal that I'm putting it back on the stands. I'm happy that I kept the mounting holes in the back now, so I can just mount that rotisserie mount on the back again and be back in business. So this paint or coating process kind of mindset has evolved over the duration of this project. So my original intention was to do absolutely none of this process myself. I was always planning on having this, taken somewhere and having it painted or coated or whatever. But now that it's summer again, it's been that long. I actually like painting. I don't really mind it a whole lot. And at this point in the project and in my life, I just want to be done with this project and get it behind me. So I really don't want to take it anywhere to be painted or powder coated at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint it myself with the same paints that I used for the sawmill, which has been holding up really nicely on there. So the biggest question I got as I was building this thing, like right before I took it off the rotisserie stands, was why I didn't paint it while it was on there originally. Well, the thing you have to understand is that I was building this thing in Minnesota, and at that point in the project, it was like late November into December. So overnight, lows, typically below 0. That's Fahrenheit. Daily highs are probably going to be in the, maybe the teens or something like that. So paint prep below 0 is not as much fun. You can't use any water-based prepping process, so you have to use all mechanical. So I guess I could have had a mobile blaster come out and sandblast it. I'm sure that person would have had a fun time with that job, but that only solves half the problem, because at that point you still have to apply paint, and most paints ain't gonna be doing much anything at that kind of temperature. Even the ultra low temp 2-part products that can cure down to 0 Fahrenheit, which if I had a warm spell I could have used, they still require a 3-day cure between coats. So that would have been a really long process of applying paint. Hopefully nothing touches it in the 3 days it's up there curing before I can apply a second coat. So painting in the middle of winter is not something that it's going to be fun. All right, let's see. Just like I remember. History rise again. Oh yeah. Started, shall we? I'm hoping that I can get this whole thing prepped today so I can let it dry overnight and be able to get painting tomorrow. I'm going to start with a quick pressure washing to get all of the dirt and the junk off of it. Then I'll degrease it with the the degreaser stuff, and then after that we'll do the etch and dry it with a leaf blower. If you want to learn more about this paint process for whatever reason, I'll leave you a link to the video I did when I painted my sawmill. I went into a lot more detail there. But just like any good paint job, the majority of the work is in the prep work. So here we go. everything is fully paint prepped and ready to go for tomorrow. I'm going to try and get all the paint applied in one day, so that should be an interesting adventure. Funny thing about this, because the etch that I use has some zinc in it, this is like a little bit of a preview of what this thing would have looked like if it was galvanized. So that's a funny parallel. Anyway, I will see you in the morning, and it's painting day. Should be a long and fun day. All right, good morning everyone. Looks like it's gonna be a beautiful day for some painting, at least right now in the morning. It's overcast and cool and birds are chirping. It's nice. I got my mom mug, which I picked out today. That's kind of funny, maybe. I don't know. I'm weird in the morning. Get ready for that. So I'm just gonna get started. I got the paint out. We're gonna get that mixed up, get it all on here, and I'm just gonna go to town painting this thing. Just do a little relaxing paint job. I don't know. Some people don't like painting, but I kind of like it a little bit. Like, I can't do it like all the time, but I think once in a while, spending some time just peacefully painting something is enjoyable. So we'll see how my mentality towards that changes as the coats progress. So you know what's fun? When you get to this point and you're about to get some paint on and you realize, why is there no weld here? Apparently I forgot to put that weld lid on that side of that stake pocket. So I'm gonna take care of that real quick. And because I have this thing back on the rotisserie, I'm just gonna turn this thing vertically so that this bead is flat and the prettiest looking seemingly vertical weld on this trailer. Well, that was a fun detour. Let's get back to work. So that's about 4.5 hours of painting. That means it's lunchtime. Wow. That was a lot of paint. All right, I'm gonna watch this paint dry and then I'll see you in a little bit. A lot of paint. Okay, second coat is gonna be gray. The first can I had there was an old can I already had. So this one I have to buy. I'm going gray for 3 reasons. First off, it's cheaper as far as the color goes than the black, so that's a nice plus. Second reason is it's a different color. I can see it as I'm applying it, so I know what areas I've already covered. And then lastly, it's also going to be easier to cover with a top coat, which is going to be colored and it's not going to be black, so it kind of gets me a little closer than trying to cover black with an actual color. Now this coat and the other coats I'm going to spray. The first coat I wanted to apply by hand so I can make sure that I was getting paint everywhere it needed to be. You know, with the brush you can kind of massage things down into seams and stuff. So just make sure I get a little more even coat, or I guess even covering, I don't know. Gives me a better opportunity to make sure I have paint literally everywhere. Slower, but areas aren't masked by other areas, so that's nice. So we'll see how the spraying goes because it's kind of windy now. So that should be kind of interesting. Luckily, this is not like a piece of furniture, it's just a trailer, so I'm less worried about finished quality so much as, you know, how well the paint's gonna last and keep things from rusting. So as long as it looks halfway good, I'll be happy. Does anyone want to find the younger, more naive version of myself who thought I could do 4 coats in one day? That's 2 coats. That's the end of the day. And I just sprayed almost a gallon of this gray stuff on here, so hopefully I have enough of the top coat. We'll find out, that's for sure, because I only have a gallon of that, so that should be interesting. So I guess I'll see you in the morning, and we'll turn this a different color. All right, good morning, everyone. Looks like it's going to be another nice day for some painting. I already went ahead and sanded and cleaned the whole trailer and everything else. I had a good number of little critters and leaves and things fall and settle in the paint overnight, so everything's been smoothed back out and ready to go, which is nice. Now the paint that's on here right now is fully durable, or it's very durable. The only downside is it's not UV stable, so it can't be left like this outside, at least the top part. The underside can be left as is, so I'm going to leave it just as it is on the underside and just start top coating the, I guess, the sun surfaces. The only kind of different thing is going to be the fenders, so those are going to be a two-tone, intentional two-tone, so the outside will be the top coat color of the trailer, and then on the inside I'll do black so it kind of matches the tires and stuff. And I guess we'll see how that ends up looking. So the top coat is a 2-part paint, so I get that mixed up here. It's mixed 3-to-1, and then because I'm spraying it, I'm also going to thin it, probably about 20%. So I'll get that mixed up into a cup, and we'll see how, or I guess we'll see how far it gets me. I'm a little worried I'm not going to have enough of this paint because I went through a gallon yesterday just painting that gray. So hopefully I'll have enough to finish everything, but I think I'll focus on the trailer, the visible parts of the trailer first, and we'll see how much paint that uses up and go from there. I'm definitely gonna have to do at least 2 coats of this, so hopefully I have enough for 2, but I will sacrifice, so to speak, some of the other stuff and not paint them right now because I can always paint them later, but I really want to get the trailer down and you know, off the stands. Well, the other kind of big unknown with this is, you know, how much I'm going to need per coat. And this, since it's a 2-part paint, has a pot life. So hopefully I can estimate well enough, or at least maybe it'll dry fast enough where I can just keep coating as I work. But yeah, we'll see. I think I'll mix up maybe 1/3 of what I have here based on volume. So what would that be, like, I don't know, a bit over 1/3 of a gallon, something like that. Look at that red. Ooh, so good. So next, let's get the deck painted, and I think I came up with a good idea. To keep the bugs and junk from landing in my paint while it dries, I'll just roll the trailer over so it's upside down when the paint is drying. That should probably help a lot. All right, so that went pretty quickly. It's a lot faster. You don't have to like paint the underside because it's just one big flat area. So coverage looks all right. There's some, you can still see some of the underlying color there. So second coat for sure, but man, this thing's looking pretty darn good. Cure time on this, or recoat time, is 6 hours. So I might be able to get to it today still after dinner. Otherwise, maybe tomorrow or something like that. But I have basically one batch of what I mixed up originally left, so that should be enough to at least recoat the whole trailer, and I'll have to like probably wait to get some more paint for the fenders and the arch, but as long as I get this thing painted, I'm happy. So it's been about 5 or 6 hours. This is dry to the touch, so I think it's time to apply another coat. I'm gonna go ahead and mix up the same amount I have been using and start coating and see where it gets me. Since I don't have a whole lot of paint left, we'll see how this goes. But it looks like I should have enough to kind of coat at least the trailer for sure. And then we'll just see what I get on the rest of the pieces. I'm kind of going back and forth now in my mind whether or not I want the fenders to be black on the inside or not. So that's another thing in the back of my mind. The other thing is I think this coat should be able to go on pretty light since the first coat really did a good job of providing a good amount of coverage. The second coat I'm applying now should really just need to be enough to even out the, I guess, the coverage so that it actually looks fully red and not like red with some other color behind it. So that should help at least use less paint in theory, but yeah, we'll just see how it goes. I don't know. I'm not super worried about it. So it turns out I have just enough paint to get through all of this, and I decided to paint the inside of the fenders red because, well, why not? I have just a little bit of paint left, which will give me enough to do the touch-up work I need to do underneath the rotisserie mounts when I get this thing down on the ground. But it's Friday. I think I'm going to leave this thing up here over the weekend at least, and then maybe sometime next week we will move on from here. So it's been about 18 hours or so. Paint is dry to the touch. I'm going to go ahead and get the trailer onto these super jaws so that way I can pull off the rotisserie mounts and then paint the areas behind those mounts over the next few days while the rest of the paint is having some time to cure. All right, it's been a few days. The paint has had plenty of time to cure. My touch-up areas are, well, they're cured. They've had a few days to cure. It's going to be time to put this thing back on the stands once again so that I can pull wiring. I want to do that while it's on the stand so I don't have to be under the trailer trying to fish wire through the frame. So one last lift onto the stands, pull some wiring, and then back down to earth. I have the light wire as well as the brake wire, so those have to come from here where the junction box is going to go and travel down to this end. So this hole here is for where the brake line is going to come out, and then the light lines will come out through the holes, which are for the light boxes, which is right back here. I'm going to put a junction inside the light boxes so I can at least simplify any potential issues with wiring in the future. Now, since these two holes here for the wires are the smallest, that's where I'm going to start. So I'll be fishing this way and that way and kind of making things start here because everything from here is all bigger. So mostly in the interest of getting these out of my way, I'm going to get the breakaway controller and the front junction box installed now, just to get it out of the way. Down here I have a second junction box. This is going to be just for the brake lines. That's just going to allow me to have all of the brake lines connected with ring terminals and not have splices and multi-split things outside of a box, I guess. With the wiring, I'm at least trying to make things a little bit maybe like future proof or at least future diagnostic proof, so that if there is a wiring issue in the future, it's very easy to diagnose and fix. So I'm just about done with the wiring up here in the front. I really like the idea of having everything enclosed like this, you know, protected from the elements, but it does make it really hard to get a camera in there and show anything. Luckily, there's not a whole lot of stuff going on here. I'm just basically connecting the leads from the cable that goes to the truck to whatever wires need to go to that particular connection. That's the junction box. The only thing I have left to do now is get the breakaway controller wired in, and then I need to add a ground in here to actually ground the trailer. I think I'm actually going to do a grounding on the other box because this one's getting kind of full. So the fewer things I can add to this now, probably the better. So the breakaway controller is pretty easy. There's 3 wires that come out of the bottom of the battery box. You have a ground, you have a power, so this is going to receive power from the truck. So the plug on here, one of these pins is just a power lead, so that allows this battery to charge while it's being connected to the truck. And then you have one wire here, which is going to go to the breakaway switch, which we saw last time, has a little plunger in it that, if removed, allows 2 contacts in here to actually touch, and this connection is closed. What that's going to do is it's going to send power to the brakes. So all this has to happen here is one end goes to the battery, and the other end goes to the brake terminal there inside the junction box. But I'm going to do the actual breakaway switch thing later when this thing is on the ground. So for now, I'm just going to connect the 2 wires to the junction box, and then we can do the switch later on. And probably the last thing I'm going to do up here is to drill and tap some holes for some clips so I can secure the wires in place. I don't have any clips big enough for most of these, so I'm just going to drill and tap these holes while this is a little more convenient. And then when this thing's on the ground and I get the bigger clips, I can easily install them without having to drill a hole in a weird spot. I think that's going to do it for everything up here. And I think it's going to go back to, we're going to get back to pulling some wires for the rest of the running lights. And then once that wire is pulled, in theory, I shouldn't really need to have this thing on the rotisserie anymore. I'm going to get this thing back down onto the axles. So I'm going to find my wire tapes, and I've got my wire for that. So all the lights are going to come from a junction box back here at the rear light box, and then go back up to the ones over there. Again, it just helps to make diagnosing wiring issues a lot better, or a lot easier. So all I have to do here is just pull a wire to the front again, and then come back to the front markers for the side markers, and then the rear markers, kind of the same thing. It's going to originate from the rear light box and go down to the rear light bar. For the side marker, which goes out in the light box here towards the front, I'm pulling a dedicated ground line for it. That way I can ground it back in here, because it's not going to be super easy to ground that light to that light box, because it's kind of tight in there. So this extra wire will just give me a place to run the ground back and ground it back in the corner here with the other 2 lights. I'm trying to shove this grommet into this hole. And this is all ready for light box. Now for this area back here, I have a sequence of holes which will allow me to come from the junction here all the way to the lights in the back there. So I'm going to start pulling this thing. I got the wire loomed and all ready to go, so this should be a pretty easy pull. And then I think that's about it for wire prep. So that's run fairly neatly. I like that. I haven't snugged everything up yet. I'll kind of adjust the location of the wire once I get those lights put in, but it's gonna be a lot easier now since that's all, drilled and tapped and everything in a much more comfortable position. So I think that's gonna do it for all of the wiring prep. Pretty sure, at least. Yeah, that's about it for wiring prep. So with all that prep work out of the way, that's going to do it for this one. Next time we'll get this thing back down on the ground onto the axles get the brakes wired, get all the lights wired, get all the little tiny detail things taken care of, and maybe even take it for a drive. So thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments on the trailer build, anything back in the shop, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, to be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.